This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, good morning. Yesterday we discussed role-based access control and we created the users. We have given access to the DevOps group, like the namespace admin access. And then later we started discussing creating Jenkins slaves in a Kubernetes cluster. So I have the Jenkins master ready now, and I created the Minikube as well. So let us quickly create the Jenkins user in Minikube and then start running our slaves in Kubernetes. Okay, we need Minikube here. Cp-i. Okay, configuration is copied, and we have this is the namespace creation. Let us create the user. The commands are here: creating private key and then creating the certificate signing request, and then creating the user certification. Okay, now this is the admin configuration. These are all like old. Deleting this. Okay, renaming as Jenkins config. Open this. Open admin configuration. Copy the Kubernetes certificate data. Okay, this is the certificate. And then okay, get the client certificate and client key data. So this is certificate or key. This is key. And the certificate is okay. And here create the roles and role bindings. kubectl apply -f Jenkins slaves.ml. Gets created and set kubectl get pods -n Jenkins. Okay, namespace name is Jenkins slaves. Okay, authentication is good and authorization is also good. And after that, now we need to configure the Jenkins and then slaves. Okay, this login page has some problem. Okay, I'm going to do this. This Kubernetes cluster is our Minikube single node cluster. We have Jenkins master ready. We need to connect these two components. And first for that, we need to create, download one plugin called Kubernetes. Kubernetes. Okay, plugin is installed. Now go to manage Jenkins. Here there will be manage nodes and clouds. Here configure clouds option. Kubernetes is one of the cloud for this. Kubernetes. And here Kubernetes cloud details. You can give URL, or if you give the configuration information is also fine. This is secret file and select our Jenkins config. So because everything we have in that Jenkins config, like server URL, Kubernetes certificate data, client key, client certificate, everything is here. Okay, just name it something. Okay, you can test the connection now. So if you see by default, it is taking the default, but you don't have access. Give our namespace Jenkins -slaves. Now you can test the connection. Okay, now the connection got success. And after this, you need to provide Jenkins URL. And then pod label, we can give name as Jenkins slave pod template. Actually, you should know how Jenkins master and slave will work. Master, this is the one, and then slave. So JNLP. JNLP is one of the protocol. So this is like slave will have JNLP agent normally. So this JNLP agent, you can download it from the Jenkins. Okay, if you see here, how to download JNLP agent. There will be one URL, JNLP download URL. That is with our master only. JNLP download URL. Okay. So when you create normal node here, you can get it. Let us go there. Some node. Some directory. So you need to allow random port actually, random port or fixed port for JNLP agents to run. So it will give, so it show you the error. And here in agent section, you need to select random or fixed, your wish. Say this is the URL. Okay, JNLP jars agent.jar. So you need to download this agent.jar in VM and then you need to run it with these instructions. This is how normal VM agent will work. But when it comes to Kubernetes, you cannot log into the pod and download the agent URL and connect to the Jenkins master. So by default, the slave will do that. I will tell you in background what happens. Pod template, add pod template, Jenkins hyphen slave, namespace, Jenkins slaves, and then labels can give it as Jenkins slave. Only build jobs with label expression. So this is when you give this Jenkins slave only, it will work. Okay, container. Here I am adding the container. So container name should be JNLP. So there is a Docker image already developed by Jenkins. This is Jenkins slash JNLP hyphen slave slash latest. So by default, what this will do is always pull image. No need of anything. Here I should give one URL called Jenkins URL. This is the environment variable I should provide. So this slave image, whatever I am giving here, this slave image, I have provided the environment variable. This will download using that this will download this agent jar inside it, and then it will connect to the Jenkins master. Okay. Pod retention on failure. Okay, your pods will be deleted, but if it is failed, then the pods will not be deleted. You can check why it is failed. Okay, that is enough. So now let us run one test job. Test job. We may face errors, but we will troubleshoot. This should run on Jenkins slave label, and then just take an execute shell. I'm giving host name pwd sleep 20 seconds. Okay, now build. Let us check here. Are we getting any pods? See, we got pods. Jenkins master is able to spin up the pods in Kubernetes or Kubernetes cluster. So I asked to wait for 20 seconds. It will wait for 20 seconds. You can see the host name is Jenkins slave and it is in some folder inside the slave. Will sleep for 20 seconds and then it will exit. Okay, success. Now you cannot see the pod. That's it. So how it worked in background, let us check once again. So this is a master and this is Kubernetes cluster. We have a single node and then what I gave here is the image name, Docker image name. So whenever something pod is coming up, I configured master with the Kubernetes details and I gave the authentication configuration as well. So when you fill the information and submit it, whenever whenever you build the job, master will authenticate to the Kubernetes cluster and it will spin up that pod using the pod template you have given. So this is the template finally. Jenkins is asking to spin up this pod. Okay, you know the pod already. So the whatever the information I have filled, all this information is this one. Okay, name, namespace, and then these environment variables it has sent automatically. And then I have given this Jenkins URL and the image information I have given Everything I have given. So when the pod is spinning up, it will download the image of this and then it will connect to the master using the JNLP agent jar. Okay, so this is Docker Hub. It will download from here. Okay, so is it clear? Any doubts? First, master will ask to spin up the pod. Pod will spin up. It will download the image. And actually it will download the jar file also. And then it will connect. Once it is connected, then master will send the all your CI, whatever the things you have given. Okay, so these many communications. First, master will ask Kubernetes, will authenticate to the Kubernetes cluster and it will send the pod template to spin up. So Kubernetes will spin up the pod. When the pod is running, it will download the image from the Docker Hub. Once it downloads the image, it will start run. While running, pod will download the image from master. Pod will download the agent jar using the information we have provided. Once the agent jar is downloaded, it will connect to the master. Then master will send the pipeline information to the Kubernetes pod. So these many communications will happen in background. Okay, any doubts or you confused, you understood completely? Copy funny.
For now, no, Shiva.
Okay.
Like maybe for like practicing, we make it.
Okay, yeah. So for the pipelines, then you can make it very complex. Here you can run the freestyle job or multi-branch pipeline, whatever you can run it here. Okay, just you need to select this label. Okay. So that is this one. So I said as security, you cannot run the Docker inside this because it's a container itself. You cannot install Docker again inside it. You can only install Docker client that can speak with host Docker daemon. Okay. So this is the Kubernetes approach. And so you no need to have Kubernetes. You can just have one normal VM and inside you can run them as Docker containers also. Now I can show that. Now we can see Docker in Docker. Jenkins slave. I will take it some big mission. Here we need to install Docker inside the host. Okay, how to install Docker. Okay, Docker is installed, and now this is master, and this is one any VM, and inside your slave should be like Docker containers. We don't need to complex it with Kubernetes, and this master should connect. Okay, so earlier master is connecting to the Kubernetes through the configuration. Now it should connect to the Docker inside this. Okay, so we need to read some article. So there is something we need to edit. Jenkins slaves as Docker containers. Can check anything. So I referred all these things. So here, if we see this article, they will ask us to edit some information. So this is the architecture. So server, master server, and then this is the server which has Docker installed. We need to edit this to allow. You can see here TCP 00 means you are allowing any other server to connect to this Docker daemon on port number 4243, just like a Docker, just like a RESTful API. Okay, this is the you are allowing any server to connect on 4243. You are opening the remote API actually within this Docker. Exec start is this one. Oh, stuck. So just replace this with this one. Okay, this is the Docker daemon socket actually. So you are allowing any server on port number 4243 to connect with Docker daemon socket. Okay, now Jenkins will use this information and request Docker daemon to spin up one pod. Okay, you need to reload and restart. So if I will show you some errors how you get usually. So by default, this remote API is not enabled in Docker. You need to enable like this. Now you can see 4243/version. If you get some response, it means like you enabled remote API on Docker host. Okay, after this, then that's all actually. So they show SSH generally. We use JNLP. Okay, now let us configure the master. First, we need Docker plugin. Configure cloud. Add new cloud. Select Docker. Uh, just give it as Docker and Docker cloud details. So Docker host URI is this one. TCP 4243. Correct? Yeah. So you give that. We don't have any credentials, but you can create the credentials also. Enabled Docker agent template. Now here we need to add Docker slave. I'm just giving it as Docker slave. Name is JNLP. And the Docker image is Jenkins JNLP slave latest. You can also build your own images. So generally organizations, they don't use this open source. They will build their own. Only build jobs with label expressions. And then can test the connection first. Okay, connected. Full image every time. That's all actually. Jenkins URL, we have to give Jenkins URL somewhere. You can see the Jenkins remote agent will be copied into the container and then run using the Java. So this is what I explained actually. Okay. So by default it is doing, you no need to provide environment variable also. Okay, let us try. I'm creating test one. Select Docker slave. Let us try executing something. Host name pwd sleep 20 seconds. Okay, build now. So something is wrong. I think it's running. Yeah, just took some time. Okay, this is done. Okay, like this is normal thing, but if you want to run Docker inside, let us see. Docker images. Not found because inside this slave image, like Docker ps-a, deleted from here as well. So inside this slave image, you don't have Docker installed. Okay, that image is like normal image. You don't have anything installed. Whatever you want, you need to install on top of it. Okay, so if you want to install something like Maven, we need to build something. Okay, let me build like Docker file. So that base image is Jenkins. Okay, I want to show you one more thing. What is the ID of this? With which user this pod is or this container is running? Let it run for 200 seconds. This ID is Jenkins. You see that? Okay, now let us log inside that container and then see Docker exec -it. I'm giving as bash. Okay, so now the user is Jenkins. That is the requirement from Jenkins. If you want the agent to connect to Jenkins master, it should run on Jenkins user. Okay, that is by default. Now if you run any command like maven, docker, obviously those commands are not found because those are not installed. So to install something, we need to take the root access. So I'm just taking the root access. Now here you need to install the commands generally. What is the operating system? You can just see Debian. Okay, so now let us install maven. Maven install in Debian. Debian 10. Apt update So run a command called apt update and then apt install maven. Apt install maven. Should give -y. Should give -y. And once you are done, you need to again come back to Jenkins user. Otherwise, it will not able to connect. Okay. Can see whether it is installed or not using Maven version. Okay. So we need Docker for this. It is sorry Jenkins slash JNLP -slave latest. Okay, I'm adding whatever commands I want from this. I need to build this, right? Okay, I'm inside some Docker machine where Docker is installed. Okay, Docker build -t techie trainer slash Docker slave v1 dot. Okay, it is done. Now push first login. Push it. Now you need to use this slave. Okay. Here manage Jenkins. Okay, go here, go to our test job. And here, now you can just give maven -- version. Okay, Docker command is not found, but you can see the maven is found. Okay, now if you want to use this slave for building Java projects, let us just take one GitHub sample Java project. Okay, get this, and I will configure git. This failed. because Git is not installed in your master. Just install it. Install Git. Okay, and here let us run ls-ltr and let us see maven package. No slave image came up. Docker ps. So this is our code is downloaded. Uh, there is some problem with the code actually. There is some problem with the code. Let us take another project. Just hello world is enough. Now you can see this is running. Where it is running inside the container. Okay, so now let us install Docker as well. Install Docker client only or Docker client. Okay, let us try this. Run. And here we can see Docker version. This is the Docker version command. Docker version, that's it. Docker version.
Shiva, here it is taking as a Ubuntu command, but we are doing on the CentOS, right?
Yeah. This is no. This image is Debian. The mission is CentOS, but the image is Debian.
Okay.
I'm not
Oh,
installing inside the host. I'm installing inside the image.
oh,
Okay, now let us build this. I'm just giving it as v2. Oh shit. Unable to locate the package. Okay. But generally a simple thing is there. We can directly install Docker in Jenkins slave. Okay, that is something get docker.com. Okay, so this is the direct script actually. So this script will check what is your OS and based on that it will install your Docker client. So here what I can do is run curl what is this site get.docker.com. I'm downloading this script and then running it. Okay. You can see this is success. So we built the Java project using our Docker container. The same thing you can do with your Kubernetes also. Just it should have that image should have a Maven installed. Okay. If it is Kubernetes, you can just change the version of the you can just change the image. So you can see here manage Jenkins and then manage nodes and clouds, configure clouds. Here if you see the pod template, here you can give our image Tiki trainers slash Jenkins slave colon v1. Is it correct? Oh, that is Docker slave, right? Docker slave. Okay. Now you run the same job, test2. Instead of Docker slave, run it on Jenkins slave that will spin up it in Kubernetes. Okay, you can see this is on Kubernetes. Okay. Yeah, so what we are seeing this one. Docker is installed, but cannot connect to Docker daemon. So this is the error actually. So why this error is coming, we need some time to explain. So this is like Docker in Docker. So today's time will not sufficient for this. Tomorrow I will explain why this error is coming, because you need to mount the socket. Okay, I'll just show this, and then tomorrow we can see it clearly. Here, configure clouds. Container settings. Here inside this mount, you need to mount that socket. Okay, just like you mount volume in Kubernetes, you need to mount your Docker container volume to the host where run docker.sock. So we can see this tomorrow. Here they will show you. Okay, so the syntax is like this. What is the type? What is the source? And what is the destination? Source is your Docker container path. Destination is your host path. Okay, we'll say this tomorrow. Any doubts still here? You need to watch this again and again to understand completely, and do some research also while reading if you get some doubts. You understood at least some percentage, Gopi and Funny?
Concept wise, got some clarity, Shiva.
Okay.
We are running master slave in the container, so that point I got. So I'll watch the video.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So you need to understand these communications.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
I understood.
It's same like simple, but the image you are selecting it dynamically. That's it.
Okay.
I mean, the pod is dynamic. That's it. Those slaves are called as static slaves. These slaves are called as dynamic slaves. That's it. Okay, then we can end the session today. Have a nice day. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.
Imagine.